now present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Will Kenneally. Well, it's been a good week for those with outstanding student loans. The Biden administration announced another round of student loan forgiveness. Now, it's tough to ignore that some of these announcements are coming as the president is running for re-election this fall. But still, this will have a significant impact on those Wisconsinites with those outstanding student loans. Now, we spoke earlier this week with U.S. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona with an assist from News 3's Jason Cuevas. Now, Secretary, could you explain a little bit in terms of people and money what this has meant for Wisconsin?
First of all, what we're announcing, we announced yesterday, is really just another example of what we're trying to do to make higher education more affordable, more accessible, but equally as important, fix a very broken system that we've had in this country for decades, where wealth determines whether or not you're able to go to higher education or not. The debt relief that we announced provides $7.7 billion in debt relief to over 160,000 borrowers across the country, and really reinforces our efforts to provide public servants with debt relief. A lot of people forget that in 2007, a bipartisan bill was passed to provide debt relief to public servants in an effort to make sure that public service is sought out. We see a shortage in teachers, we see a shortage in nurses, and what we're doing right now is making sure that the system works, and we're providing debt relief. All total, we've provided over $167 billion in debt relief to over 4.7 million Americans across the country. And certainly I can have the information broken down by state shared with you subsequent to this call, but we're really proud of the announcement and the bigger picture that we're making higher education more affordable and more accessible.
Do you get a sense that this loan forgiveness could steer some young people into some of those public sector careers like nursing or teaching?
Programs like this, administered well, help with retention. You know, I was with teachers earlier this week, and I hear from them that, you know, they love what they do, but they have mounting bills of loans they took out 20, 30 years ago, loans that are doubled because of the interest that has accumulated. And, you know, in the teaching profession, I can say, you know, teachers are 24%, earn 24% less than people with similar degrees in other professions. You know, there are states in our country that start teachers off with a salary of like $38,000. You know, that's unacceptable. So if we're trying to keep our educators in the classroom and give our students the best chance to succeed, programs like this are critical. If we want to address the nursing shortage area and not only recruit folks into the profession, but keep them there. I hear too often of stories where educators leave the profession because it doesn't pay enough and they have these loans. So public service loan forgiveness is one way to help them. If they've chosen public service, we want to make sure that they stay there. That's one of them. Another one is what we found is that the interest on loans just accumulated over time to the point where people were going into default. We introduced the SAVE plan last year. The SAVE plan is a more affordable income-driven repayment plan. And what we're finding is many people have taken out loans for less than $12,000. But after 10 years, they're still paying these loans because of the interest. Well, we're making adjustments to allow for those folks to move on and be done with those loans after 10 years. But they have to sign up for the SAVE plan. The goal here is to reduce the number of people that go into default and let them use their dollars to buy a home, start a business, contribute to the local economy.
So after this, what will be on the horizon for student debt forgiveness?
Over 160,000 people have gotten emails this week saying, you're done. You're done paying your loans. Use that money to go, you know, buy a home, open up a small business, support your family in other ways. So we are moving forward on the debt relief here. The Supreme Court struck down a bold and needed debt relief plan that the president announced a couple of years ago. But when the Supreme Court shut that down, we recognized we have authority under the Higher Education Act to provide other debt relief plans. We are moving forward with that aggressively. We do believe the American people not only need it, but want this. And the goal here is not to be providing debt relief forever, but to fix the root cause of the issue so that college could be more affordable, more attainable to more people across the country. But in order to do that, fixing the broken system is what we're going to do. And, you know, these are some of the same people that are complaining about this are the same people that supported helping out the airline industry when they were falling, helping the auto industry when they were falling, helping the banks when they were falling. But when it comes to regular everyday Americans that need a little bit of help while we fix the system, then we get the complaints. So we're committed to helping our students, helping our borrowers, and the president's plans are bold to fix this broken system.
When we come back, the Madison West area plan gets shown at another public meeting. We break down the latest with a Madison urban planner. We'll be right back after this.
This portion of News 3 Now is sponsored by Madison Gas and Electric.
Don't miss A1 Furniture's Memorial Day sale. $1 million in inventory must be sold. Two-piece sofa and love seat or sectional only $9.99. Recliners from $2.99. Lift recliners $9.99. No interest financing for 12 months. Only at A1 Furniture.
Thousands of our heroes face the difficult choice between keeping their heat and power on or facing homelessness. 21,000 Wisconsin veterans are living below the poverty line, many impacted by physical or mental health challenges. Wisconsin loses 3 veterans to suicide every week. Together, our mission is to provide all struggling Wisconsin veterans with a critical survival safety net that keeps them safely in their homes. You can make a real difference by providing a donation to the Wisconsin Heat and Housing for Heroes initiative, with 95 cents of every dollar donated going directly to those right here in your community. Help by visiting www.heatforheroes.org or by calling 1-800-891-9276. That's 800-891-9276.
Stanton Optical is the best value in eye care. We did the math, people. For $79, you get all this. That costs over $200 at Walmart, over $300 at LensCrafters, and over $200 at America's Best. When it comes to value, Stanton Optical is the top bird. With the best service, quality, and prices, Stanton Optical is the best value in eye care. To help you remember, I made this cheer. The value. A, awesome value. L, lots of value. You get 2 pairs of free eye exam and anti-glare lenses for only $79.
It's A1 Furniture's Memorial Day sale on now. Incredible prices on spring air mattresses, queen size from $2.99. Get a free adjustable base with purchase of mattress $9.99 or more. Only at the A1 Furniture and Mattress Memorial Day sale.
Welcome back. Some may call it controversial, others may say it's just right for feedback. The Madison West area plan received another public meeting. Now, it's gone through a couple of different iterations since February. Joining us now is Linda Horvath, one of the city planners working on that draft, and thanks so much for being with us.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
So what are some of those changes that we've seen recently with the West area plan?
Sure. So we made some changes to the proactive rezoning recommendations that were in the February draft. And some of those include, or actually, we'll just talk about the main one, I would say, which would be changing the Highlands zoning back to its original traditional rustic residential zoning. So we had proposed changing it to what we call suburban residential consistent 1, which is the zoning that most of the surrounding single family neighborhoods have, but that neighborhood, came out pretty strongly wanting it to go back to its original TRR zoning. And so we did make that change. That's one of the big changes for zoning. And then there were some future land use changes as well. You may have, seen concerning the pool over there in the Hill Farms area, that part of the future land use map had been proposed to be medium residential, and we changed that back to low residential to what it currently is because of people being kind of concerned about that change. So we made that one. And then there were a couple other future land use changes as well. Another big change would be that we removed the proposed north-south bike path from the Saw Creek Greenway and left in the east-west connection. So that is a big change as well. So those are some of the highlights, I would say.
So what goes into that rustic zoning neighborhood that you mentioned earlier? What does that mean in terms of zoning?
Sure. So that zoning, one of the big things it does is it allows a minimum lot size of about 26,000 square feet, as compared to the SR C1, which we had proposed to change to, which is a minimum lot size of 8,000 square feet. So those are kind of the biggest differences, or that's the biggest difference, is the minimum lot size. So if it had changed to 8,000 square feet minimum lot size, people would be, under city rules, able to divide their lots up. And so that was something that the neighborhood wasn't interested in having happen. It's still, people can still make changes to their properties, but that was, and also they did put into place protective covenants in the meantime, between the February draft coming out. They did put in some protective covenants. So the zoning is still something that needs to be followed and that we enforce, however, so that is the difference.
So at a 30,000-foot view of all of this, what goes into this rezoning? What are some of the goals for the city?
Absolutely. So one of the big goals around changing the future land use and aligning that with our zoning is to allow for more opportunities for additional housing to be built. Primarily, that's what we're looking at these days, because as you've heard and as you've reported on, there is a housing shortage in Madison, just like many cities have now. And so we as planners are looking long range with this plan. We're looking 10 years out. And we're looking for those opportunities where we can guide some of that growth along the major corridors, along the bus rapid transit lines, other transit, along the bike paths and things. So we're trying to look at places where we can, as we say, guide that growth to areas that are going to be well served by transportation that isn't cars, for example. That's a big goal, because we know that as more and more people, move to the city, as more jobs come here, there's more traffic. And so we want to see if we can create a place that has that more ready opportunity for people to hop on the bus and to hop on their bike to get to and from places. And so we want to look at how can we increase the number of housing units along those major routes. So, and then intermix also with shopping and services and jobs. So we look at mixed use changes to that future land use map. Where can we add in more opportunities for neighborhood mixed use, where people have said, we want to have a place that we can walk to go to a coffee shop, to go to a restaurant, to do our shopping. And so we as planners, we see as our responsibility, looking long range, where can those opportunities happen? Now, this is a guide. We're not developers by any means, but we're putting down that guide that does, have standing. I mean, it's a future land use map that gets adopted by the city. And so when a development proposal comes in before the city, that future land use map is looked at and is adhered to.
Now, what will be some of the next steps for this West Area draft plan?
Sure, absolutely. So we are continuing to gather, having people review that draft that's online, making comments online, coming to us at the meetings to ask questions and share feedback. And then we review all that feedback that we will receive through June 9th. We take it all and we make decisions on how we can adjust the plan to be more responsive, to strike that balance between what the community is asking for from all different perspectives. We've got different perspectives coming in more so than we did before, and we need to balance that input and create a plan that's really going to be responsive to what the community wants, but also to what we feel we need to be responsive to in terms of guiding that growth in a responsible way. So.
Now, in addition to this West Area draft plan, I know the city is also looking at the Northeast part of the city. What's going into that?
It's on a similar timeline to our plan. They have, they're working on their draft right now, and they're going to be doing some public meetings starting next week as well on their draft plan. Similar kind of thing. It's a growth and development guide for the Northeast area. They have probably about half as many residents in their area compared to the West area, so that's a big difference. It's a highly diverse area demographically, much more so than the West area plan has in terms of residents. They've got some major interstate projects that are upcoming that are, going to affect that area. Highway 51 is looking at some major changes as well. There's the airport. So there's a number of big things over there that they're sort of, working with to try to get the best plan in place that they can. But again, it's on a similar timeline. And so both of these plans potentially will be introduced to the Common Council for City Review in July, and then go to the boards, committees, and commissions that need to review them and provide recommendations. And they can make changes to what we propose, but they will continue to listen to public feedback during that process. And then that plan, the plan commission ultimately says yes, no to the different recommendations, and the council then finally gets the say to say, we accept these changes and this is an adopted plan.
Are there specific reasons that the city is looking at these two neighborhoods right now?
Sure. Yeah, there are a couple primary things. And one primary thing really is that bus rapid transit that's coming. That's going to be running, down Mineral Point Road and East Washington Avenue. That's a major project that again, as I said earlier, we look at where are those major corridors that are well served by transit, where, growth should, in our minds, be directed. So that's a major reason. And then too, we do have fewer adopted plans that have been adopted more recently in these areas, and so and also not as good of coverage really, and so we want to make sure that we're getting the coverage that we think we need to guide growth and development in these areas, and so it's been a while that they've received that smaller area plan, like the neighborhood plan coverage. Now Northeast did just have the Hawthorne Truax plan adopted for a small part of the area, but it was time, to get some better coverage in both areas.
Linda Horvath, thank you so much. When we come back, we take a look at the changing demographics across Wisconsin and the Midwest. We speak with Marquette University's John Johnson right after this.
It's the massive 4-day sale at Denver Mattress. Right now, save $100 on every $1,000 you spend. Or check out the Summit for only $299.99, plus 6 years no interest and free shipping. But hurry, the massive 4-day sale at Denver Mattress ends Monday.
From midnight tweets to drinking bleach to tear-gassing citizens and staging a photo op, we knew Trump was out of control when he was president. Then he lost the 2020 election and snapped, desperately trying to hold on to power. Now he's running again, this time threatening to be a dictator, to terminate the Constitution.
If I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Trump wants revenge, and he'll stop at nothing to get it.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
If you have Medicare and Medicaid, you may be eligible to get extra benefits with iCare's dual eligible special needs plans. Our members get $1,800 per year with a card that's loaded monthly to pay for items such as eligible groceries, over-the-counter items, rent, and utilities. Whatever you don't spend carries over each month. Call us today, and a licensed sales agent will help you find out if you're eligible. Rest easy. iCare is looking out for you and your health.
May is Maytag month in Menards, and we're passing savings on to you with the largest in-stock appliance selection. Find the best prices on Maytag appliances. Save over $850 on this Maytag Volcano Black laundry set after rebate. Champion Power Equipment provides durable and dependable generators and inverters. They're great for camping, tailgates, and keeping your family safe during power outages. Save over $100 on this portable inverter generator after rebate.
Save big money at Menards.
It's the massive 4-day sale at Denver Mattress. Right now, save $100 on every $1,000 you spend. Or check out the Summit for only $299.99, plus 6 years no interest and free shipping. But hurry, the massive 4-day sale at Denver Mattress ends Monday.
Welcome back. Before the break, we heard from a Madison city planner about how our capital city is preparing for an increase in population. Now, that's not an uncommon trend across the Midwest. And Marquette University researcher John Johnson looked into how the cities and counties across our area are dealing with that increasing and decreasing population. Now, I published the column in the Recombobulation Area newsletter. He also joins us now for more. And John, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Now, you took a look at the population trends over the last few years, which also happens to be the last few years since the pandemic. What have we seen since then?
Well, during the first period of the pandemic, things were pretty rough for most Midwestern states. You actually saw some years of population decline, but since then, Wisconsin has really recovered. So have Indiana and Minnesota posted pretty healthy year-over-year gains in the year of 2023. And that was due to both natural change, more births than deaths in Wisconsin, and also positive migration, particularly domestic migration of more people from somewhere else in the United States moving into Wisconsin.
Now, are there specific areas that we see do better than others? I know from your map, for instance, we see a decline in places like the Twin Cities, where Dane County, or I guess Madison proper, are doing pretty well.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of uncertainty when you go to the sub-county level in these estimates. So, maybe it's better to look at the county overall where the data is a little bit stronger because of how they're able to collect it. But yeah, you see, the healthiest kind of growth is positive natural change, so more births than deaths, and also attracting more people to move to that county. That sort of speaks to a county's ability to grow in two different ways. And we see that kind of strong growth occurring in a few places: Dane County, the Fox Valley, Marathon County up by Wausau, the La Crosse area, and the Eau Claire area. And that Eau Claire area is really interesting because it's part of this band of growth that stretches all the way into Minnesota to the counties surrounding the Twin Cities. That area shows really strong growth. The Twin Cities themselves have struggled during the last few years in a similar way to other Midwestern cities, where even if they've had a strong birth rate, they've often had negative net migration.
And so you do see those trends extend across state lines, like with that Eau Claire example you mentioned. It doesn't just stop at the Mississippi River?
Not at all, yeah. And another interesting trend that straddles state lines is the Northwoods generally across Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota are actually growing. Those very rural counties are growing again. And they're growing despite having a older population in general. So they actually have negative natural change, more deaths than births. But in the last few years, they've attracted so much migration, mostly domestic migration from other parts of America, that they're actually growing. And I think that speaks to the attractiveness of the natural amenities up there, all the public land, and also the growing ability of more and more people to work remotely. So there may be people who've wanted that lifestyle for a long time, but had a job that didn't let them move there. And perhaps since 2020, when a lot of workplaces changed their rules around remote work, that's likely contributed to this actual growth in the population we see across much of northern Wisconsin and its neighbors.
Now, in Wisconsin, we certainly like to poke fun at our neighbors to the south in Illinois. But what's going on there? Why is that state seeing such a decline?
It's rough. It's happening in the cities, in the suburbs, in the rural areas. So in Cook County around Chicago, you see still a positive birth rate there, but so many more people are moving out than moving in that they're posting population declines. And then in much of the rural areas, it's this double whammy of negative natural change, more deaths than births, and also people choosing to leave. So not only do they not have very many kids, people are moving out possibly before they start families. So it's not a good scenario in Illinois right now. But of course, you see some of those same trends, particularly in the rural areas, extending into Iowa as well. So it's not just an Illinois state thing. It's sort of that lower part of the Midwest in general is having some of those troubles.
As we look at kind of broader city planning, you see cities like Madison increasing, the Fox cities increasing as well. Are there lessons to be learned from Madison to the Fox cities and vice versa?
I'm sure there are. I think, one of the challenges for growing cities is to understand the sort of cost to build and maintain the infrastructure for if you're extending outwards, for instance, into former farm fields or something like that, and how the tax revenue from the houses that will be there, will that be enough to pay for that expansive infrastructure? So sometimes the kinds of subdivision style developments that have relatively few houses per mile the tax revenue struggles to actually fund the development of the infrastructure out into those greenfield places. So more dense development is often more fiscally responsible for cities. And so I think you see more cities moving that direction. Of course, there's the whole affordability side too of, are you able to build the kinds of houses that sort of regular people can actually afford to live in?
John Johnson, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be right back after this.
Okay, nature lovers, at US Cellular, you can get an iPhone 15 Pro on us, plus $300 off a new iPad.
It's true. Check out this amazing photo of an Iberian lynx I got.
That's a tabby cat.
And a slaty bristle front.
A pigeon?
And even Bigfoot.
Yeah, so that's Gary?
Oh, yeah, bro. That's me.
Bigfoot does not exist.
And Gary does exist.
Right now at US Cellular, get an iPhone 15 Pro on us, plus $300 off any iPad. US Cellular, built for us.
This right here is confidence in a bottle.
It makes me feel so much more confident than I've ever felt.
They are some of the hottest videos on social media. Those videos claiming to instantly get rid of bags under your eyes. Annette Figueroa is here to tell us why she says this one is for real.
This one is for real, and I'm so excited. We even have a video, and all he uses is a small amount on a clean, dry face. And what it does is it tightens and lifts the appearance of bags underneath your eyes. And I did this to my father. We were at home, so we applied it to his under eye bags, and let me tell you, we were so excited. In under 10 minutes, they visibly disappeared from view, and now it is literally part of both of our daily routines. And not only does it work on the bags, it works on the appearance of crow's feet, fine lines, and wrinkles.
This Memorial Day is the best time to try Plexiderm at our startup price of only $14.95. Your solution is at plexidermtrial.com or call the number on your screen.
Finally this morning, Governor Evers has appointed a new secretary to lead the Department of Corrections after Kevin Carr retired in March. Now, Evers chose Deputy Secretary Jared Hoy to lead the department. Hoy has been with the DOC since 2007, being the Deputy Secretary since 2021. Hoy has worked at the DOC in a handful of capacities, including as a policy advisor. Now that does it for us this week. I'm Will Kenneally. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.